Football is a sport that is played 11 against 11, and in the end, Germany wins. This football quote, coined by a devastated Gary Lineker after England's World Cup semi-final defeat by Franz Beckenbauer's team in 1990, has not lost its relevance. It is even true of each of his successors. The latest, the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, football's promised land. A relentless triumph led by coach Joachim Low, the great architect of the German way of playing, now easily distinguishable and comfortably anchored in the collective mind. How did he build his success? The year is 2000. This year marks the beginning of the new millennium, but for the Germans it is also the year of their football revival. At that time, the Mannschaft was in the midst of an identity crisis. After being eliminated in the quarter-finals of the 1998 FIFA World Cup, the team went down abruptly 2 years later in the group stages of the Euro 2000. The country's football officials then took matters into their own hands to initiate a turnaround. All agree that their virtue is no longer enough. It was now necessary to train more technical players. Inspired by the French and Dutch models, Germany is renewing its training policy to encourage the development of young talent. To do this, colossal resources were deployed. From the 2001 to 2002 season, each German D1 club was obliged to have its own youth academy. As an immediate consequence, or as fate would have it, Germany reached the final of the 2002 World Cup a few months later, a journey that would ultimately be a real illusion. 2 years later, the Germans were once again prematurely eliminated in the first round of the Euro. In the aftermath of this setback, the long-awaited transformation of the nation was finally achieved with the appointment of Jürgen Klinsmann as coach. Klinsmann, captain of the last German national team to win the title in 1996, had virtually no coaching experience and was to bring back an attacking spirit to the young German players. With his deputy Joachim Low, he helped the likes of Schweinsteiger and Lahm to emerge from the shadows, finishing third in the 2006 FIFA World Cup. The transformation was well and truly underway. It was the first time that the team had been able to make a name for itself. Playful and exciting, the opposite of the pragmatic monster they have always been, Germany confirmed their revival at the highest level. They reached the final of Euro 2008 as well as the last four of the 2010 World Cup and the 2012 European Championship. Three promising campaigns in which the integration of young players already familiar with the tactical ideologies of the U21s is at the heart of the project. The likes of Hummels, Boateng, Müller, Neuer, Toni, Kroos and Gundogan have already been included. In addition, there are new players with an immigrant background such as Sami Khediri and Mesut Ozil. The latter is one of the perfect representations of the German metamorphosis, both because of his Turkish origins and because of his style of play, which contrasts considerably with the former robust playmakers such as Andre Mola and Michael Ballack. It doesn't matter. The 2014 World Cup in Brazil is an opportunity for the Mannschaft to prove that they are once again a formidable winning machine. And the least we can say is that their return to the top is going to be a resounding success. They are at the top of the group of death along with Portugal and the United States and Ghana. A happy victory over the Algerians in the next round. And then an efficient and united performance against the French team in the quarter-finals. Germany splashed the world with its class by inflicting a historic beating on the Selecao. A few days later in the final, they dominated the Argentina of the helpless Lionel Messi. We have to admit that this fourth World Cup victory was built on previous disappointments. It was a very different story from the one we had seen in the past, but it was a story that was never far off course. They have stuck to their fundamentals, which they have solidified over the years, as well as their game, which is as flamboyant as it is modern in its use of the ball and its various movements. Lahm, Schweinsteiger, Podolski, Klose. It was thought that this generation was cursed, but in reality it was just not quite ready. Having been on top of the world after the 18-year hiatus from major titles, Germany are now looking to stay there by relying on their exceptional pool of young talent. However, this consecration, which had all the potential to mark the beginning of a new period of domination, was in the end only a culmination. In football, only the reality of the field counts, and the men in black and white will experience this bitterly at Euro 2016. Löw's men were among the favourites to win the tournament, but they were unable to overcome the France of Antoine Griezmann, who was icy realistic, a notion that the Eagles know by heart. The team's defeat was digested by lifting the Confederation Cup and then by achieving a clean sweep in the World Cup qualifiers, setting a record for the most goals scored by a team in a qualifying campaign. But they were surprisingly out of the spotlight a few months later. It's simple. Germany, that seemingly unstoppable machine, was eliminated for the first time in its history in the first round of a World Cup. and in last position in their group. Key players with little commitment, players who are physically weak, the absence of a real leader on the pitch. The collective wreckage is absolute, and it will leave serious after effects. Worse, these men seem to be cruelly lacking in identity. The new generation, finalists at 2016 Olympic Games and winners of the Euro U21 Championship in 2017, who were supposed to bring in new blood to replace some of the ousted players, seems less promising than expected. On the pitch, finally, Germany's game has gone haywire, hard-hitting against weaker nations. The Mannschaft struggles when adversity strikes. In a cruel lack of confidence and in constant delicacy with its defense, the Mannschaft's performances against the top names are indeed a real rollercoaster ride. Worse, they sometimes turn into fiascos like the famous 6-0 defeat against Spain in the autumn of 2020, despite the fact that they are also in the process of rebuilding. A new snag in the coach's bag which will weaken his position even more. Nevertheless, lucid on his decline already well underway, Yogi knows better than anyone that it's better not to force things. That he should take another year. That destiny will simply bring him to lead his last major competition at Euro 2021. The German coach is a charismatic builder and an exemplary leader of one of the most ferocious teams of the last decade, and he will be remembered as the man who restructured the National Mannschaft. And if Joachim Löw's results for nearly 15 years long are not revolutionary, it suffices to look in the retrospect to realize that they are no less exceptional than those of Schumacher and Beckenbauer. And that's part of the reason why this German team will also go down in the annals of world football. A team that plays, that favours attack, efficiency and audacity. Danke, quite simply. What do you remember about Joachim Löw's Mannschaft? Tell us what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't hesitate to talk about our channel around you, to like it and to share it. It helps us a lot to continue to create more content on football news. See you soon for a new video. Ciao!